Welcome to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. So week one of the high school football season is always a really exciting time for these players, coaches, families, schools, and communities. It's a time when school is either back in session or about to be back, and so much goes into that. And on the field, coaches are wondering if they've done enough to have their team ready to go. If players who have not gotten much time on the varsity level are up for the task. And the nervous energy that you can feel on the field, on the sidelines, and in the stands, I absolutely love it. The boys of fall are ready to get back after it, and we're so excited to bring it to you here on My 24. For the next 9 weeks, join me for Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show every Friday night at 6:30 as we get you ready for kickoff. We'll talk to each head coach and highlight different teams from the AAYFL, the All-American Youth Football League. This week's game is Hartland Arrowhead versus Milwaukee Marquette at Menominee Falls High School. Because of the flood that hit hard the community of Wauwatosa, the game cannot be played at Hart Park. And I want to thank John D'Amato, the AD at Menominee Falls, for stepping up and playing this game on their field. Tonight's non-conference game is a good one, I got to tell you. Two Division I teams from two of the best conferences in the state of Wisconsin. Let's start with Milwaukee Marquette, coming off an undefeated season in the Greater Metro Conference last year and a 10-2 overall record. They will be led by new head coach this year, and excited to talk to him. Coming over from Brookfield Academy, John Kahle. He's a 2000 Milwaukee Marquette graduate. Coach, a boy can't come home. Congratulations. A lot of changes going on right now in your life, and we'll get to that. But first and foremost, congratulations. How does it feel being back in that building?
It feels great. This was the place that shaped me. I think it was a place of growing up, a place of connection, a place of faith. I had excellent mentors here. So it feels great to come back.
Hey, John, when you spent 12 years or so at Brookfield Academy and moving over to Milwaukee Marquette, you know the tradition, you kind of know the expectations of what is expected of this team and this program. And you obviously applied for this and wanted this job, and you kind of know what you're getting into. There's some expectations over at Milwaukee Marquette that are really high, right? And Coach K did a great job with that program, and there's been some great coaches along the way at Milwaukee Marquette. When you got that call to say, hey, come on home and be our head coach, what was that first night like for you?
There was a lot of excitement, and certainly you're aware of the standards and the expectations. You wouldn't throw yourself into this if you weren't aware of that. So certainly a lot of excitement early on, and I think the next day I went to morning weightlifting at 6:30 in the morning, trying to establish strong relationships with both the students and the staff. So hitting the ground running from day one, retaining the staff immediately, and trying to establish those relationships with the kids was number one priority.
Yeah, good for you. Speaking of changes, this game is supposed to be at Hart Park, right? That's your home field. And with that flood, it's not available. It might not be available for a while. Tonight's game is at Menominee Falls, and I've already thanked John D'Amato, the people at the Falls, for allowing this game to be played there. And I'm wondering, as the head coach of Milwaukee Marquette, I mean, you're just going to have to play all the away games. Is that what the season looks like for you?
Well, the way the schedule is set up, so week one was supposed to be a home game. So we found Falls, which is a great place to play. Then we are away for 5 straight weeks, true road games. So maybe by week 8 and 9, we get some good news and get to go back to Hart. But we definitely have a plan in place if it isn't at that point. So
Coaches, as coaches, we look for reasons, right? And in a locker room to get our kids to play with a chip on their shoulder. You're not going to use the flood part, but to be able to say, hey, look, guys, this is just one more hurdle. Our conference is really good. Our non-conference games are really good. We're playing against the best teams, not only in this area, but maybe in the state of Wisconsin. And just one more step, and to play with a chip on our shoulder, we don't have a home field. So we're going to go into places and we're going to have to compete on their field against some of the best coaches and players in the state. Do you guys use that a little bit as motivation in the locker room?
Yeah, I think it's sort of that built-in adversity that we certainly have talked about and have used. We know that nobody is going to feel sorry for Marquette High School. It's not going to happen. No one will. So don't hang your heads. The standard doesn't change, and moving forward, we know that our tradition it travels, and it doesn't matter where we play. So that's been the overall message so far.
Hey, let's talk about this year's team. Last year's team, you lost the Marquette did under Coach K, lost that first game, and then went on and went undefeated in the Greater Metro Conference. I know you guys have a lot of really talented players to replace. Let's talk a little bit about this year's team, and I think you start with Novotny, the running back. But there's a lot of players to talk about at Marquette. But boy, you had a lot of really talented players graduate. Are you happy with how the team is coming together?
Yeah. I think they're going into the season a good amount of unknowns. But I mean, our approach started with a really good summer of coming together for 9 straight weeks, just about every day. And then I think it was a very, very positive mini camp. We had some coaching contact over the summer as well. Um, and yes, this is Marquette High School, and good programs are going to have turnover, but it's the job and the expectation for the next group of kids to step up, and we're seeing that, and we're seeing improvement every day.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Tommy Novotny. We had a chance to watch him play for a couple of years, and he's a really talented, tough running back. Pretty happy with the way he's progressed and started. I'm sure that the leadership role for him has gotten quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, he's been more vocal this year. This is the first time that I've had the opportunity to see him in practice, and his footwork is quite impressive. When Tommy speaks up, everyone listens. He probably has a greater impact than me or any coach, because players really respect him. So it's been a joy to see him grow in the short time that I've known him. But he comes from a very good family. He's a humble man, and I know that he has strong relationships with many people at Marquette High School.
Hey, Coach, last question. What can we expect to see different, I think, than what we've seen in the past number of years with Coach K, as far as you as a head coach? Do you like to run the ball, throw the ball, depending on the talent? Talk a little bit about kind of the coach you are and what you're hoping to accomplish with this team.
Well, I think there's probably a lot of similarities. You know, my approach is to play to your strengths on both sides of the ball. I believe Marquette High School has done that certainly the last couple of years, playing to maybe a little more of a run strength at times. Um, I have faith in our offensive coordinator and the entire defensive staff and Devin, and we're going to play to our strengths. Um, really like to hang our hat on, and what we did at BA was being extremely good communicators and being very well connected and being a very disciplined team. And I think, in any given year, the X's and O's can change a little bit, but we're going to play to our strengths.
John, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Good luck tonight first game as the head coach at Milwaukee Marquette against Arrowhead. Really appreciate it. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we'll be joined by Matt Harris, the head coach at Arrowhead. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps football pregame show presented by our friends at Current Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps football pregame show presented by Current Electric. We are minutes away from kickoff as Arrowhead takes on Milwaukee Marquette for our season opener. Let's talk about Hartland Arrowhead. Last year, they finished 6-1 in the Classic 8 and 9-3 overall. Now joined by the head football coach for the Warhawks, he's Matt Harris. Coach, it's good to see you. How you been?
You too, my man. Great to see you. Excited, super excited. We're finally here.
Yeah, finally here. It comes up quick, and I know you guys have been working hard. We had a conversation the other day and said, look, it's been a really good off season for the Warhawks. Talk a little bit about your staff, this team that's coming back. You feel pretty good about where you guys are at, correct?
Yeah. I feel really good. Our staff has stayed together for a long time. We've had a couple pieces moving around here, but the main piece has been, stayed together. We had a great off season with all the extra stuff that we could do that the WIA allowed this year, and I feel like our kids are in a better spot now than they've been in a long time. So we're just really excited to show that.
Hey, Coach, you guys had a really successful, I think, season last year and have a number of kids coming back. Can you talk a little bit about kids that have had some experience on the varsity level coming back on both the offensive, defensive side? How many kids do you have coming?
Yeah, I mean, off and on, I'd say there's 7 to 8 defensive players that had significant time last year, and then 5 or 6 that had significant time on offense last year. So yeah, it's a great group. This is kind of the group when we first got to Arrowhead, the first flag in the ground with the youth program that we were able to really get our hands on, and you can see it all coming together right now. So there's just a real strong familiarity with what we do, how we do things, and what our expectations are.
Hey, Coach, let's talk about a couple of players that when people tune in for kickoff here in a few minutes, they're going to be able to take a notice on some players that had a lot of success last year and are back again this year. We'll start with Jacob Sinner, who is a running back at Arrowhead. He's first team all conference, went over 1,000 yards second straight season. He's a kid who has played in this program now for a while, and you got to feel pretty comfortable handing him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, he has had an incredible team camp this year. Obviously, he's electric. Like, he's just an electric football player. You know, I've had a ton of really, really good football players in my career, and I don't know that I've ever had anyone run with the ball like as electric as he does. And so it's been really fun to watch, and he's primed up for his senior year. Like, he's built for this.
That's saying something from you, Coach, because we could go over. So I could name a couple of the guys you've had that have been really electric when they've had their hands on the ball, and that coming from you is really high praise. Hey, yeah, let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. Harper Hughes is a wide receiver that is getting a lot of attention. He's a kid that had a good season last year, is a commit to Western Michigan, and he's a kid that man, he goes up and gets it. He believes that when the ball is in the air, it's his ball. And when he gets the ball, he's tough to bring down. He's a kid that I think will jump off the page at people tonight.
Yeah, he's just a pure wide receiver. Like, he works his technique as hard as anyone I've ever seen. His route running ability is flawless for a high school kid. His hands are, he's just everything that you wish to have in a wide receiver. And obviously that's why, he was offered so many scholarships and ultimately landed at Western Michigan. But if you're a young wide receiver, I don't think there's a better person to watch in high school right now than Harper Hughes.
Boy, that's awesome. Staying on the offensive side, a couple of new additions on the offensive line. How has the offensive line kind of gotten? How have they come together here in the off season? And pretty happy with these new additions. Have they added something to that line?
Yeah. I mean, Arrowhead is known for offensive linemen. It is what it is. I don't know how it happens, but they come out of the woodwork, and I think the school takes a lot of pride in being known for that, and so it's just part of the culture. Like if you're not, we don't have to ask or beg anyone to be an offensive lineman. And this year's team is no different. They're big, they're strong, they're fast, they're smart, and they're trying to build their own legacy because there's such a huge legacy of offensive linemen. But some of those guys out there, Roman Holtz is a young up and comer, and he's going to be incredible. And and Andrew Downing and Mitch Balicki and all these guys have been working so hard, and I think people will be really impressed with how the group has come together as a unit.
I agree with you on the offensive line. Arrowhead is known for that, and you guys do a really good job of developing these guys. Looking forward to seeing this year's offensive line. Let's go over the defensive side. Brendan Foley is a linebacker that does not mind contact, and he's a kid, 3-year starter, returning Defensive Player of the Year in the Classic 8, which is really saying something. Talk a little bit about this young man and the journey he's been on.
Yeah, I mean, he just committed to West Point Army football, and I don't know that you will. That's how you describe him. That's it. That is who he is. He is the alpha of all alphas I've ever probably coached. He is a leader beyond anything I've ever seen. But he's also obviously a great, great football player. I mean, Hunter Waller was the only other underclassman defensive player of the year in our conference, and for him to get that's high praise. But yeah, he's as smart as any coach on our staff and probably any staff. It's like having another football coach on the field, and he's just our guy, the kids know it, and because he's so humble and he works so hard, like everyone accepts it, and that's a great thing. Like our team loves when Brandon gets tons of accolades, and they're happy for him, and they know and they realize it because they see how he operates.
Coach, really excited about tonight's game. I know you guys are playing, we're playing this at Menominee Falls and kickoff here in a few minutes. Milwaukee Marquette, don't know the new coaching staff, a lot of new players, not quite sure what we're going to get from them, but you always know that they're up for a fight, right? They will give you everything that you can handle. It should be a really good opener. Matthew, it's good to see you again, Coach, and looking forward to this game tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to this game and also the whole season.
Coach, thank you so much. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we will talk with Greg Clark, the commissioner for the AAYFL. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by our friends at Current Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric. Hey, let's get to our newest segment. It's the All-American Youth Football Spotlight segment. And I want to thank everybody involved with the AAYFL, their board, and especially our next guest, Greg Clark, the commissioner for the AAYFL, for their continued support of high school football. This week's Spotlight, we're going to talk to Greg a little bit about the season for the AAYFL. Greg, how you been?
I've been great. Thanks for having us on, Mike.
Hey, we really appreciate you guys becoming a sponsor of our program and allowing us a chance to highlight the AAYFL, the largest youth football league in the state of Wisconsin. And we talk, you and I, Greg, a lot, and we talk about the future of high school football is right here in the AAYFL. These kids that are playing in your league, they go to bed on a Friday night or a Thursday night with their uniform on, dreaming about playing under the lights, a home game with their high school. And I love the fact that you guys have as many players and as many communities and teams participating in your league. This league is something else, Greg. You got to be really proud of the work you guys do.
Yes, we are very proud, and you hit the nail on the head that we are trying to prepare these kids to go into high school and to take that next step, whether they play or not football. But they're better humans. They're building their character and the game of football. And I know you and I disagree a little bit, but I think it's the greatest sport ever, and it's a ton of teamwork. And I know you're a basketball guy, but yes, I truly believe that football creates a lot for these kids.
Hey, Greg, a number of years ago, I think that football all over the country kind of took a step back and said, look, to get more kids to come out, we need to make sure that we're keeping it as safe as possible. Now, football is a contact sport. It's a violent sport. There's going to be injuries, but look, back a zillion years ago when I played, it was no water breaks, take a salt pill. We're doing 2-a-days, nutcracker, man, bull in the ring, all that. I think today, I don't know if youth football and high school football has ever been safer to play at. And I think that the coaches and the board at the AAYFL understand that. And you guys have done a lot of adjusting to make sure practices are still very competitive, but as safe as they can be when you play the sport of football.
Yeah, I agree with you. From the practice times, we've actually put a limit on practice times. All our coaches are USA football certified, so they go through every year. They go through a certification and they take a test, and everybody's on the same page. And now they're coming out with Guardian helmets that kids are wearing, and it's becoming more prolific throughout the league. But yes, it's as safe as it can possibly be compared to lacrosse and soccer and those other sports that you can get injured in as well. And football right now is probably as safe as it can be.
Hey, Greg, and I agree with you as far as life lessons. I believe football, the sport of football, because of the amount of kids, amount of staff, that the life lessons probably more than any other sport you play at an early age, football teaches you a lot of life lessons. I can't thank you enough, Greg, you and your staff. And for the people that have agreed to get involved with our Friday night game of the week and to be able to highlight, promote, and celebrate what you guys do at the youth level, I think is so important. Again, the future of high school football is right here with the AAYFL. And each week we're going to be able to spotlight and talk to different people involved with the AAYFL and talk to people about going out and supporting these kids in these communities all over Southeast Wisconsin that play in your league. Really appreciate you getting involved with us, Greg. Looking forward to our partnership on this, and we'll do a good job of spotlighting you and everybody involved in the AAYFL. We're going to get to a break. Want to thank John Kahle and Matt Harris and Greg Clark. And after the break, John Weiser and Terry Kelly will give you the keys to the nice matchup between the Hilltoppers from Milwaukee Marquette and the Warhawks from Hartland Arrowhead. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric, only on My 24.